Good morning. It's still morning, I know, but we'll lead into the afternoon in just a bit. Welcome to the Chamber's Forum. I'm Natalie Shirley. I'm the Vice Chair of the Convention and Visitor Development and President and CEO of the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. Chamber forums, such as the one we're doing today, provide timely, relevant programming on news and issues impacting our community. Today, we're excited to dive into 4 new projects that will remake Oklahoma City's booming visitor and entertainment environment. Now, before we introduce our panelists, I'd like to take a moment to recognize today's signature sponsor, Cox Business. Please welcome Glenda Montiel, Cox Business Enterprise Sales Manager, to the stage to say a few words.
Good afternoon. I'm Glenda Montiel on behalf of Cox Business, and we welcome you to the May Oklahoma City Chamber Forum. I hope all of you have had a chance and didn't fly in on the seat of your pants like I did, and you had a chance to pause and look out at this beautiful city and restaurant and how exciting it is with all of the new opportunities and growth for our city. That right here is another accomplishment in our flourishing city. Oklahoma is making an investment to increase our cultural, entertainment, and visitor environment, and we're here to hear about all those exciting opportunities today. Great times for Cox Oklahoma City, and Cox Business is here to partner with you in that growth in our advances. Thank you and welcome today.
Thank you so much. I'm also pleased to recognize our corporate sponsors, ADG Inc. and Guernsey. Thanks to both of you. The visitor and entertainment industry is an $8.6 billion industry in the state of Oklahoma, the 3rd largest sector in our economy behind only energy and aerospace. In Oklahoma County alone, the industry generates over $2.2 billion in travel receipts, supporting an employer base of over 22,000 and a local payroll of over $525 million. This is a tremendous part of our local economy and a testament to the work of our private and public sectors and the Chamber's Convention and Visitor Bureau's team toward delivering a top-notch environment and experience that's attracting visitors from all over the world. That momentum is going to continue as 4 new critical projects come online in 2020 and shortly thereafter. Today we have a great group of leaders here to discuss the synergies around Scissortail Park, the Omni Hotel, the MAPS 3 Downtown Convention Center, and the American Indian Cultural Center and Museum. Panelists will detail how these projects are already reshaping the entertainment and visitor environment here in Oklahoma City. So please enjoy your lunch, and we'll regroup shortly to introduce our featured speakers. We are fortunate to have a great group of leaders on today's panel who know all the details about the 4 exciting projects we're getting ready to dive into today. Their extensive bios are in your programs, but please help me welcome Mike Carrier, President of the Oklahoma City Convention and Visitors Bureau. Brett Cimorelli, Vice President of Construction and Development for TRT Holdings, Inc. Maureen Heffernan, Executive Director of the Myriad Gardens Foundation. And James Pepper Henry, Director and CEO of the American Indian Cultural Center and Museum. thanks to all of you for being here. Okay, so we're going to follow sort of the same format that we typically do here. I've got a series of questions and that I'll ask, and then after I'm through, then I'll ask if the audience has any questions, and we'll pass around a mic. Someone will bring a mic to you so that you can ask your questions. So let's start with Mike. Mike, the new convention center truly is the anchor to all of the exciting projects we're going to discuss today. We know the city just received the bids and is in the process of selecting a general contractor. Give us an update on the construction timeline. When do we expect to break ground?
Good question. We are, there we go. We expect to break ground on the 15th of June, 10:30 in the morning at the corner of 5th and Robinson. Be any more forceful on it than that. You know, that's pretty well done, set in stone that we're going to do it that day. We're very excited about this. Obviously, bringing in hard bids, $20 million below the budget was something that nobody expected, and so we're very pleased to have had some outstanding architects that gave us really, really good plans for the construction industry to bid on. The timeline is that we should be finished and ready for opening of the building midsummer of 2020, assuming that everything goes according to the plans that we have. It will take, once the building is finished and there is a CO issued, a certificate of occupancy, it will probably take another 60 to 90 days after that before we're really ready to have events in the building, as the operator will require an amount of time to finish all the things they have to do with inventorying all of the different items and burning in all the kitchen equipment and the variety of things that it takes to really open a building. So fall of 2020 is probably what we expect in terms of actually opening and being ready for groups to come in. We will still be operating the Cox Center until then, and we'll still have a number of events held in there. In fact, we know that there's a large Baptist convention this summer of 20 that has said we're going to be in the Cox Center. We're not going to plan two separate meetings. So, but good things coming.
You guys realize that's 2 short years from now. I mean, this is almost a reality. So how will the operations of the convention center be different than the current relationship that we have with SMG? And what changes can we expect on day one?
Well, there's several differences. First and foremost, SMG is a very large public assembly facilities management company headquartered up in the Northeast. They manage over 200 facilities around the world, including football stadiums, basketball arenas, convention centers, performing arts facilities, college, professional, and they have 2 distinct divisions. One is arenas like the Chesapeake Arena. The second is convention centers like this. I used to work for SMG. The arena people have no idea what the convention center people do and vice versa, because they are 2 distinctly different types of buildings and different operations. The biggest difference we will see here is that currently the Cox Center is managed by 3 different organizations. The Renaissance Hotel manages all of the carpeted space in the Cox Center. They're responsible for all of that. SMG is responsible for all of the rest of the space, the exhibit hall, the old arena in the Cox building, and a little bit of other space. And then the parking authority manages the parking garage under it. As a meeting planner, that means you have 3 different organizations that you have to work with to hold a meeting in there. It is, our consultant called it a bifurcated system, which is a polite word you can say in mixed company. In this new situation, Omni will manage the hotel, SMG will manage the convention center. They will be partners, but they don't, the 2 organizations don't get into each other's business. But they do partner to make sure that the entire complex is full as many days a year as we can fill it, cooperating with each other. So that will be the biggest difference you will see on day one, is professionals doing what professionals are supposed to do. Right, Lily? Okay.
All right. All right, Maureen, I run the loop down by the park and at Hudson and Robinson, and the changes that I see are almost daily. So talk a little bit about where plans are on construction. Are we ahead of schedule? Have we encountered any pitfalls that you can discuss? Talk a little bit about what's going on down there.
Okay.
Bottom.
Well, right now, as far as I know, we, the Scissortail Park Foundation that I'm heading up along with Myriad Gardens, we will be the operators and managers. We're not part of the construction team that is headed up by MAPS. Hargraves, the designers, are doing all of that oversight. But as far as I understand it, they're on schedule. So the contractors should be done in May or June. And at that point, we'll be given the keys to the park to manage. So we're working right now on kind of a June soft opening. So our plan is to, when the contractors are fully completed, we take on the management. So we have a lot to do to get geared up for that and plan out some programs. But next summer will be kind of a soft opening summer where we'll test out the systems. We'll have our cafe running, the boathouse, the fountains, everything will be up and running. And we'll be planning a grand opening, which will be really spectacular. We hope it's a great big celebration over a number of days. It may be Labor Day weekend or even early October when the weather cools a little bit. So that should be on schedule. So it's opening. You can start to enjoy the park next summer. And the grand opening with everything up and running, and the big celebration in early fall of next year.
So just a year from now. That's terrific. All right, Brett, the Omni Hotel is a key piece of the puzzle to creating a synergistic environment for the meeting, lodging, and entertainment needs of a large-scale convention. Talk through where we are right now with the construction timeline of the Omni and groundbreaking, et cetera.
Yeah, so we are looking at breaking ground either late August, early September, and that's the hope. With that brings an opening right around December, January, so December 2020, January 2021. So give these guys time to burn in the kitchen so we can eat when we show up. Speak a little bit more about the kind of the why and how we do things, but we really want to bring the flavor of, I say, not Dallas, but what you guys do into the hotel, Oklahoma City. We really focus on trying to bring that into our hotel. You got some pictures up here. We just got done finished opening up Louisville, and we keep getting comments from people that live in Louisville. Wow, you really capture the essence of the city. We're really trying to do that here as well. So we've been working hard, and we got a long way to go. Design doesn't stop until we open the doors, and even after we open the doors, design always continues. So,
talk a little bit more about that. You said that you brought the flavor of Louisville into that space. Talk about what Oklahoma City residents can expect out of the Omni Convention Center. Maybe your top 5 things. Yeah,
and before I get there too, we do what we call immersion trips, and we'll be here for a good week. Myself, interior design team, architects, really trying to figure out what makes Oklahoma City, what makes you guys tick, what you guys pride yourself on, and we're hoping to show that in the hotel. But as far as the top 5 things, we're going to have on the northwest corner of the building of Robinson in Oklahoma City, we're going to have a 2-level sports bar. I heard you guys like sports a little bit, so we're going to put a 20-foot big screen TV in this space. So we're hopeful that really energizes both kind of a connection point between the park and as well as the arena. Going down the mid-block, continuing down, we're actually going to have a burger bar between our Bob's Steak and Chop House and Sports Bar. That burger bar will be kind of a nod to the park, an opportunity for people to come off the park, walk up to the window, get a burger, sit down if you like, leave if you like, real quick and easy. And again, midship of the building on Robinson will be a Bob's Steak and Chop House. Those of you familiar with Bob's in Dallas, we have actually been developing those with our convention center hotels. We find that people really enjoy a good steak sometimes when they come to conventions. The other anchor, we are yet, there's a name up there now, it says Euphorium. We haven't decided yet on the coffee shop name, but there will be coffee on the southwest corner. And then on the pool deck, up on the 3rd floor, there'll be a pool bar, again, open to residents, open to people that want to come in and enjoy great views of the park, great views of downtown. And then also on the same level, we'll also have a spa. So again, we've done this in a bunch of cities, convention center hotels, very successful, whether it's a spa, whether it's the pool deck, whether it's Bob's, and the sports bar will be fantastic as well. So,
I think a lot of people want to know, why did Omni decide to come to Oklahoma City?
Everybody that's up here, it's the energy, it's the uniqueness of the opportunity here. One thing that we really pride ourselves on at Omni is doing something that's different than every other cookie cutter hotel. I mentioned we want to capture the essence of Oklahoma City, but the energy from the park, from the new convention center, we are dead center of all the activity, and that is a perfect place to be for us. The pro development here in Oklahoma City really entices us, not being too far from Dallas. We're extending our footprint, being our corporate office in Dallas, so it's very easy for us to get here. We know the market. We're continuing to learn the market from the teams that are here. So again, it's just an exciting time to be a part of Oklahoma City. We're excited. We've got a groundbreaking actually in Boston next week, but I want to say that this is just as exciting, if not more exciting, than what's going on in Boston. So it says a lot for us to be here, and we'll continue to develop the relationships and try to be a good partner when we come.
Well, we really are glad that you're here. So let's just change gears just a little bit. I think I speak for everyone in the room when I say that we're beyond excited for the Native American Cultural Center and Museum, that it's back on track thanks to the Chickasaw Nation and the City of Oklahoma City and lots of private donors. For years, we've envisioned the possibilities around the museum becoming a global attraction to share the story of Native Americans, and at the same time, creating jobs and adding to the success around all the projects that we're discussing today. So JPH, share with us where the project is today, and then sort of walk us through the current timeline towards the opening.
Well, the good news is, and the burning question everybody wants to know is, when are we going to open? This project has been going on for nearly 20 years, and we're going to open in the spring of 2021, so about 36 months from now. People ask, well, why isn't it opening a little bit sooner? Well, because the design is about 20 years old now, we've had to make some upgrades to the interior. There were no smartphones 20 years ago, so we're implementing a Wi-Fi array inside the facility. We still have incandescent lighting in the design, so we're switching all of that to LED. We actually had banks of phone booths in the building, so we're taking those out now. But some of the other things that we're doing to upgrade the amenities, in the past, I used to be the Associate Director of the Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Indian. I helped build that facility. We have one of the most incredible restaurants in that museum. If you've ever been to Washington, I hope you've been to the Midstum Cafe. It's the only restaurant within the 19 museum system of the Smithsonian that's Zagat rated, and so there are a great variety of native-inspired foods, traditional foods. So we're going to bring that experience here to Oklahoma City so that people can, for the first time, really experience traditional foods. When I say traditional, I'm not talking about fry bread and Navajo tacos. I'm talking about foods that are sourced from the tribes. Food sovereignty is a big deal right now with the tribes. The Choctaws have the largest cattle ranch in the country. Several tribes now have their own bison herds. So we're going to source locally, and almost, instead of farm to table, I like to say res to table at the Cultural Center. But you'll be able to experience great native cuisine. I was the former executive director of the Heard Museum, one of the great American Indian museums in the country. We had an incredible gift shop there of one-of-a-kind handmade native items. We generated over $5.5 million in sales each year out of that gift shop, selling those unique native items. Well, those artists come from Oklahoma, and we really haven't really developed a consistent market for native-made items. We have native festivals here in Oklahoma, but not a place that people can go to year-round. So we've increased the capacity of our gift shop to include those native artists to sell those one-of-a-kind items. So we've made some significant improvements to the facility. Going along with the food part of that, we've upgraded the size of the kitchen so that we can cater events. We can cater events for up to 1,200 people at the Cultural Center. So yeah, we've made some significant progress in the last several months. The last piece of the puzzle for us to finish the Cultural Center was the issuance of the $25 million in bonds from the state of Oklahoma, which we are matching with $40 million in private dollars and a little bit from the city of Oklahoma City. It's a complicated arrangement, but originally the land was owned by the city of Oklahoma City. Then it was given to the state of Oklahoma for the development of the Cultural Center. The state has given the land back to the city of Oklahoma City, and then the city will eventually own the Cultural Center, but the land around the Cultural Center has been sold to the Chickasaw Nation for development. I think that's another question coming up about the development.
It is. We'll get to that one. I can tell you that I personally am excited. JPH and I have already met because we know that there are synergies between the Cowboy Museum and the Native American Cultural Center. So this was really, I think, going to be exciting certainly for us and for Oklahoma City.
Well, we're going to have cowboys and Indians now,
That's right.
which is great. So.
Not just right here.
That's right.
All right, Mike. How is the new Oklahoma City Boulevard important to the success of the Convention Center, the Omni Hotel, and Scissortail Park?
Well, I think most of you were, or at least a lot of you were here when we had the old crosstown. And you just kind of breezed through Oklahoma City and looked over the sides of the rails and said, and went on. Well, as we moved I-40 south, now you didn't just breeze through and look and pass by, now you just pass by. The boulevard is going to tie together the entire downtown street grid. Those of us that work downtown, which I know many of you in the room today do, you come to work in the morning, and when you leave in the afternoon, you have to figure out a new way to get home. Hopefully, when we get the boulevard finished, we're not going to have those kinds of problems because we will have a real street grid that gives you options every day of how you can get out. If there's a wreck, you don't have to sit in traffic. You can go a different way, and in a couple of blocks, you can get back to a main artery that will take you in or out. We're very pleased with that because with the Convention Center, the Omni, the park, with the Native American Cultural Center on the east end, we've got a lot of assets that are all connected by this new stretch of highway. And it will make it much easier for our visitors, our convention delegates, our event attendees that are coming into the city to get to the different places in the city that they want to go to, at the same time tying us together. The Boathouse District, when you walk out the front door of the Omni Hotel and take a right-hand turn, it's a straight shot down the boulevard to River Sports Rapids. We booked a major convention that will start this summer, and we're looking for a long-term deal with them as their organization grows, and that was a big draw for them, is that staying at the Omni as we move forward into the coming years, they do on-water demonstrations of paddle sports equipment. How neat is that? That we've got the Convention Center, the headquarters hotel, and just a few blocks east of that, we have a great rowing facility that they can demo. You go just past that, and it's a little more difficult to get to, but we're working on that. You have premier Native American Cultural Center. So the boulevard is going to tie a lot of things together and then make it a lot easier for us to look at how we get people out to the Adventure District, where the Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum is located, along with the zoo and the Science Museum and a number of other great amenities. Oklahoma City Museum of Art, just down the west side, Contemporary up Broadway. It kind of ties everything together and makes it easier for people to get around the entire community. And that's exactly what we want to do with all of the assets that are represented up here right now.
Thank you. This next question is a little confusing, so just stay with me. We've all of us have experienced the streetcar tracks that are being laid. And we can see how they're, even in our frustration, we can see how all of these things are going to tie together. However, particularly for the Cultural Museum, the completion of Oklahoma Avenue, as different from Oklahoma City Boulevard, we can see that that's going to be critical. Mike, do you have any updates on Oklahoma Avenue that's going to connect to Oklahoma City Boulevard over by that U-Haul building?
To the best of my knowledge, we're still waiting on, I think, the court system to finalize. There's an eminent domain case, and to finalize that piece. But the city is working hard to get that done so that we can tie Oklahoma coming south off of 235, you exit at Oklahoma and can get down to the center of town, connect to the boulevard, again, tying things together so you can move around different sections of the city. So hopefully that'll be resolved shortly.
Maureen, we've seen many visuals in the press about the section of the park between Interstate 40 and Oklahoma City Boulevard. What can you tell us about the other section, the 28 acres of the park that will run from I-40 to the Oklahoma River and then ultimately connect the heart of the Central Business District with the riverfront?
Well, the park there's an upper park and a lower park. So the upper park is opening first. That's next summer. It's about 35 acres. And then the lower park, which is the southern part, will open about 2020 or 21. And the lower park really complements the upper park in the fact that the upper park has a lot of bells and whistles, lots of activities, lots of features. There's a fountain, there's the great lawn with a band shell for large events and concerts, there's a cafe, there's a dog park, there's a lake, there's a boathouse, there'll be paddle boards and paddle boats to rent. There's a huge fountain feature, which is the real wow feature of the upper park. And kids are going to love playing it. It's going to be just a stunning focal point to look at. And so it has all of these features. There's also a large event pavilion we're building to serve as an outdoor roller rink in the warmer months, and then it could be used for events and things. So the upper park has lots of activities. The lower park complements it in that it's a more natural park. So we're going to have a lot of sort of prairie-esque landscaping and grasses. It will have, the main promenade will continue from the upper park over the bridge through the lower park to the river. So there'll be a wonderful connection actually from Myriad Gardens. You can just continue walking or biking all the way to the river and really not have to go over any streets at all. But the lower park will be more naturalized, and some features we've added to it, which I think they're really exciting to make it more interactive and engaging with the community, is a community garden. So there'll be a fairly large area where nearby residents or people living downtown will have a lottery system of some kind if there's a lot of interest. So you could have a plot to garden with. And I think that's a great thing to look at. It adds vitality and interest, and it could be really great to see people actively using that in the lower park. And then we're going to have a youth farm. So the youth farm will employ teenagers, and the idea is they will grow crops, they'll grow flowers, they can sell them, we can use them in our cafe and food service. And it could be a really wonderful community program for kids in the adjacent neighborhoods. And we'll also have a small cafe operation there that we're planning, and some kind of structure. It may be kind of a modern barn-like building that we can hold events in, people can rent, we can use it for programs or school field trips. So the lower park will have that sort of character. It will also have a small kind of built-in amphitheater towards the southern end of it, which is raised. So when you're on the raised part of the amphitheater, you'll have a view to the river. Otherwise, you really don't see it because of the elevation, but when you're on that rise, you'll have a lovely view of the river.
Thank you. Mike, the proximity of the river and Bricktown to the future convention center is really close, but many still find it confusing to get from one to the other. What are we going to do about walkability and signage in that area?
I know that downtown OKC and the city are working right now on signage, wayfinding for the entire downtown area. It has been a problem, continues to be a problem, but really until we get all the streets done and get everything open, it's kind of hard to do anything with that. So hopefully we'll get that done, get the planning finished for that and be ready to attack that issue in the very near future. It is very important, as I alluded to a minute ago. We have so many things on the north side of the river that are great tourism draws and attractions. Having the facility that JPH represents, it's so important to be able to get the direct connection to that. Most people don't know that you can actually walk under Interstate 40 down in Lower Bricktown to get over to the Boathouse District. You can park at Bass Pro Shops and walk under the interstate and come out right behind the Chesapeake Boathouse. You know, it's a perfectly safe and easy way to do that. We need to make those kinds of things more prominently known, and then we need to figure out how to connect in a rational fashion the north side of the river to the south side of the river so that we can take advantage of this tremendous opportunity that we're going to have in this phenomenal new asset that is being built on the south side.
Thank you. So we've seen time and again the key ingredient to creating livable, successful spaces really takes a mixture of public investment and private investment. So let's transition to talk a little bit about how these projects will bring additional opportunities for additional commercial development. JPH, you said earlier that the Chickasaw Nation will be developing the hundreds of acres of land around the cultural center. What types of development do you really want to see surrounding the museum?
Well, first of all, the Cultural Center is located at a perfect location, literally at the crossroads of America. I-35, I-235, I-40 with I-44 not too far away, and as Mike mentioned that we have some challenges getting there. There is no direct exit coming from the north to the south on I-35 to get to that area, as well as coming from the east. There's no direct exit. You have to exit off of Eastern and kind of do a loop around to come down. So that's one of the challenges we have, and hopefully we'll work that out over the next few years. But we're working very closely with John Kennedy, who many of you know who he is, a local developer, and working with a firm out of Dallas called Gateway to help with the master planning of that site. And one thing we've been very adamant about at that site is to have a hotel and smaller conference center for conferences and conventions that are too small for the new convention center coming in. As many of you know, a lot of our tribal nations, the 39 tribal nations here in Oklahoma, as well as around the country, come to Oklahoma for conferences. A lot of the federal agencies do as well. So this would be a perfect opportunity to capture a lot of those smaller conferences at our site. But we're also very interested in kind of clustering cultural activities together that we see other museums start to pop up around the Cultural Center, other great activities. Many of you have been to Bentonville, Arkansas, to Crystal Bridges. Crystal Bridges has been around for about 5 years now, and they started out with 500,000 visitors a year, and their attendance really hasn't dropped off. One reason is because once they opened Crystal Bridges, it's started to create excitement, and other museums have started to pop up around Crystal Bridges. They built a 21C hotel in Bentonville, Arkansas, along with boutique shops and restaurants. And since Crystal Bridges has opened in Bentonville, sales tax revenue in Bentonville has increased 38%. So the impact of having these cultural activities is huge. And so we would like to see more museums and cultural activities be developed around the Cultural Center. We've been talking to a few folks about that as well.
That's great. So continuing in that same vein, Maureen, Scissortail Park is a space for everyone, but how would you see private companies being involved in the park's success, hosting events, sponsorship opportunities? What are your thoughts?
Well, we will definitely need the private sector to invest in the park to help us grow our annual operating budget so we can really operate at a really highly excellent level and do lots of programs that are free or low cost. So there's lots of opportunities for folks in the room here to sponsor events and concerts and programs. There'll be naming opportunities. In fact, we'll be just starting that process very, very soon. If you would like to name a certain part of the park, the Great Lawn or the dog park or the fountain, you can have your name on that. So we'd love to have that help grow an endowment for the park for our operating budget. So those are the primary ways. There'll be other ways to get involved through employees working there, advising our staff. We'll be having a business development person, and we want them to think of the park almost as a for-profit in some ways. So we can maximize our revenue. So we will be needing some business advice from people so we can really grow that in a significant way. Again, so our goal is the operating budget, if we can grow our part of it, we can keep a lot of the programs free and low cost for the community to enjoy year-round.
Terrific. So moving west of the park, what kinds of commercial developments are you hoping that you'll see on the west side of the park?
Well, I would say with the exception of the Omni, I would just hope that there are not a lot of chain developments around there, just to make it more unique and sense of place would be good. I would, because we'll be hosting the John Rex School for several years, I would think a school would be a wonderful thing to develop near the park, if that would work out for them, just to have that as a resource. I think other things that might be good amenities that we don't want to do in the park but would be good for visitors, things like a bike shop, because there'll be a lot of bikers, I think, and so to have a bike shop there for repair, for purchase, to rent other types of bikes would be great. I would like to see, even on a temporary basis, a nursery, because we're going to have all these great trees and plantings and prairies and flowers, and so we'd love to encourage people to put in those types of landscapes in their homes, in their communities. So if there was a nursery nearby, I think that would kind of be an addition. And as James said, I think museums or cultural institutions really, really add to a mix like this too. That would be great to have those going in.
Thank you. Okay, Mike and I talk about this all the time. What does this mean for us, for Oklahoma City, in terms of competition, Mike? How are all these new things going to help position us to be number one on the list?
Well, one of the things that has been holding us back for the last several years has been the physical size of our convention center, the lack of meeting space. Many of you all I know have various meetings, social events, et cetera. It's hard to find space in this city. Other than the convention center, Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, we are limited in terms of the places you can actually meet. Omni is going to help us tremendously in that, about 45,000 square feet in the Omni.
And that's meeting space. We have additional pre-function space, which obviously always is used as well. Yeah. So over 70,000 in total.
So, a nice combination there. We've got 75,000 square feet of dedicated meeting space in the new convention center, plus pre-function space, plus other ancillary space, 200,000 square feet of exhibit hall space. So you put those two buildings together, we've got a very nice package for larger conventions. Then what JPH was talking about in terms of the space that they're going to have at the Cultural Center. You look at what Maureen's doing, predominantly outdoor space, but our weather here is such that, there's a lot of times you can do outdoor events very nicely. We think that all of those things are going to help attract even more space as we see additional product coming in a variety of different ways that will encourage people to do activities here. What it does for us with the convention center and the hotel, this puts us into position to be able to attract probably 85% of the conventions and meetings that are held in the United States on an annual basis. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of those. There's another category called trade shows. These are flat floor shows that typically do not use breakout space. They use big, gross square footage. There are over 13,000 trade shows held in the United States every year. Well, when you look at what we have at the convention center, what we also have at the fairgrounds with the Bennett Center, we're in a position we can do 2 shows at one time. We can fill a lot of hotel rooms. Not, you know, people ask me, am I concerned about the Omni coming in and hurting up? No, I'm not. I'm happy that they're coming in because Omni attracts a whole new class and group of meetings that we would never be able to attract. That's why it's such a great pairing for Oklahoma City to have this hotel, the new convention center. As we're filling those 2 buildings, what are we doing? You know, JP and I were talking earlier about, you know, the facility that they're talking about at the Indian Cultural Center. Great. A lot of times we see small meetings come in to try out a city. And if the city performs extremely well at a seminar held in a facility similar to what they are going to be building at the Cultural Center, this city can take care of our larger meetings. It's amazing the number of the American Medical Association. A good friend of mine used to be head of their meetings department. Over 10,000 meetings a year that they hold. One association. Now, that's board meetings, it's committee meetings, it's educational seminars across 50 states. It's, you know, all different kinds of disciplines in the medical profession. You know, thousands and thousands of meetings that they hold. How many of those could we attract here? And that's exactly what the new facilities and the new operations and the partnership with Omni give us the opportunity to look at and try to attract to come to Oklahoma City, which in turn produces more of that $2 billion plus coming into our economy that would not otherwise be here.
That's exactly right. I mean, there's a reason that CVS and Walgreens build across the street from each other. The more that you've got, the more opportunity there is for everyone. Okay, so I'm going to end with just a general question for everyone. And Maureen, we'll start down with you. So 2020 comes and goes, and we're seeing huge success. I think everyone in this room and everyone around believes that that's what's going to happen. But what do we see next? What do you see for 2030? Maybe even 2050?
I just try to get through every day. Let's see, my retirement home in 2030. I hope that the park I hope that as we have a chance to be the organization that gets it up and running, so we have the opportunity to hopefully start the culture, sort of the DNA of it. And I hope what we're doing now and just grows is a sense of the importance, the responsibility of doing a really good job for it, because a park is it can be such an improvement to the quality of life. I mean, it has a spiritual value, a physical value. It does so many things for the community. So I hope that we imbue it with a sense of responsibility to do our best job for the community and to have a sense of continuing improvement and to be creative and resourceful. So hopefully whoever is doing it in 2050, they're just trying to make it as wonderful, as beautiful and active and interesting as possible. And to really take that seriously, because that can have a really positive outlook for people of all ages and a wonderful quality of life improvement.
Thanks. Brett, what do you think? I know you're not local yet, but you will be, I promise.
Yes. You know, there's a trend these days of more vibrant downtowns. A lot of people moved away from downtown. You're seeing a lot of cities, people moving back downtown. I think that's a key. You know, we like the energy in the hotel. We love energy. We love people. We love people experiencing things. And the best way to do that is to live downtown. I'm hopeful in 10, 20 years that it's a vibrant downtown when it comes to livable. The park is a huge asset to that. Conventioneers, convention centers, there will be more hotels. We welcome them. We want them. We can't do it without them. We just got done opening Louisville. There's another plan for another 20 hotels to go in Louisville. The same thing's going to happen here. So we're hoping that what we're doing now, being part of this, spurs the growth. I think that the visionaries here have. It's as mentioned before, this is the center of the country. A lot of people think of it as the flyover city. Well, why not stop here and enjoy what's here? My small time being here, we talk about the Boathouse District. We talked about the Memorial. We talk about, just Bricktown. There's so many things that you guys have to offer that the country doesn't know about yet, and I see that kind of being spilled out in everything that you guys are doing. So hopefully that continues to grow.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to give Mike the last word. So let me go to JPH. What do you think? 2030, 2050?
Well, quality of life for sure in the city. I was just reading USA Today yesterday, and Oklahoma was ranked the worst city in the country for health. And that shocked me a little bit because we're making so many improvements in our parks and our trail systems and so forth. But in general, I think improving the quality of life here in Oklahoma City, and that means great cultural institutions and having the critical mass of things downtown to bring people back into town. But from the perspective of the cultural center, one of the stories that we're missing, a big piece of the puzzle, is the collective histories of all the tribes here in Oklahoma. We can't talk about Oklahoma and our history here, and even the history of our country, without telling the stories and the histories of our native tribes, and specifically the 39 tribes that are here in Oklahoma. So I hope that down the road, not only the quality of life part of it, but that there's greater understanding and a better appreciation of our cultures and between cultures 30 years from now. And certainly our mission is to help with the education of our citizens with the rich histories of the cultures that we have right here in Oklahoma.
All right, and so Mike, back cleanup for us.
I came here 11 years ago. This city is not the same place that I moved to 11 years ago. It's hard to wrap your arms around what has happened here in a relatively short period of time. But as you look at it, and I was telling someone yesterday, think about when we voted on MAPS 3, 10 years and 4 months ago. I mean, that went by in a week. Look at all the things that have happened because of MAPS 3 and other projects that have occurred here in this city. The building of this building, the other things that spun off because of this building and the people that did this building. Look at all of those things. We've talked about a lot of stuff up here today. We've hardly mentioned the streetcar. Think how that's going to change the downtown area. And if the streetcar is as successful as most of us believe it will be, where's it going to go next? To the Health Sciences Center, and we need to cut it before we get to the 23rd and Lincoln, but at least to the Health Science Center and let people walk from there up might help some of those folks. But you look at all of those opportunities. How does it go south? How does it go west? Look at what's happened at Film Row. Look at the 21C, down at the end of Film Row. Who would have ever thought that 10 years ago that we would see something of that nature? Brett talked about additional hotels. I got a report yesterday from one of the leading statistical firms in the hotel industry. We right now have 26 hotels in some phase of development in Oklahoma City. Part of that is you don't see it because we're such a big city geographically, but just think about all of those new things coming to the city and what's going to happen. The thing that I think about and that I won't say concerns me, but I think the thing that I think about the most is who are the next visionary leaders? Look back 25 years at Ron Norick and the people that sat around and dreamed up MAPS 1. And then Kirk Humphreys and the people that worked on MAPS 2, which was MAPS for schools, and Mayor Cornett and MAPS 3, which is coming to the end of its life as we speak now with the projects that are still to be done. Now Mayor Holt, and what's next? Look at the changes in our demographics. The people in this room that weren't here 10 years ago, 11 maybe. But think of all of that and how you all are getting involved in the decision making that's going to create the opportunities in 2030. How are you going to help David as he moves forward in his term and future terms as mayor to continue to move this city forward so that we don't lose the momentum we have, You know, Councilman McAtee sitting back here has seen massive changes during his time on city council, and he's been a vibrant part of helping make those changes happen. Who's going to follow Councilman McAtee and the other council people that we have to make sure that we continue to get it right? You guys got to step up, because you're the ones that are going to make it happen. We can all sit around and dream and throw things against the wall to see what sticks, but you all are the ones that are going to make it happen and going to continue things like the legacy of the Indian Cultural Center and Museum, that continue the Scissortail Park and Myriad Gardens and other great projects like that. We're building a convention center that has space for expansion. You all are the ones that are going to be looking at when is it time to expand and what is the expansion that looks at what's the next major hotel. You know, where does it go and how does it service? What are we going to do with the Boathouse District? How do we continue to expand that and keep it vibrant? We go all over the country preaching about Oklahoma City, and when we tell somebody that we have a U.S. Olympic water program here, the first thing they do is look at us like, you know, we're Martians or something.
I did that.
Yeah. We're in the middle of the Dust Bowl. What are you doing with the U.S. Olympic Training Center for water sports? Well, why not? What's the next why not? That's the things that we've all got to continue to do, you know, and that a lot of folks in this room leave in your all's hands as we continue to grow and prosper and move forward and help make all of these entities successful, along with all of the others.
I think that's one of the most amazing things about living here is that we're always looking forward, and you all are the beneficiaries of that. But that also comes with a great responsibility, as Mike was just saying. All right, now it's your turn. It's your turn to ask questions of these great panelists. And what I'd like for you to do is raise your hand, and a chamber staff will bring you a microphone so that we can all hear your question.
Thank you. Awesome presentation. I'm Patrick Ragel with Catholic Charities, member of the Chamber. Very, very proud to do that. Two questions real quick. One is, nobody's talking about bathrooms. We're going to bring a ton of people downtown, and there's going to be a park. Are we all going to Brett's place at the Omni? So are we going to have public accommodations available for our visitors? And second of all, I want to applaud Roy Williams and others for considering in advance how we will address the homeless population that will certainly wish to take advantage of this space. How are we, what are ways we can help with that conversation to be proactive and not reactive after it happens?
Okay, well, we know that Brett has bathrooms. So, Maureen, let's start with you.
There are definitely bathrooms. There's the children's area that has a building with bathrooms. The band shell will have bathrooms. The cafe has bathrooms. Our outdoor pavilion area will have bathrooms. So there's a good number of them. And when we have large events, we'll be bringing in some additional portable ones.
Okay, we're not at the Cowboy.
We will have state-of-the-art bathrooms at the Cultural Center, so with Wi-Fi.
Okay, on that high note, is there anybody else? Any other questions?
Well, I would just say to Patrick that in terms of our location, I'd be happy if you have any insights, we could talk later, how we could employ some homeless people to do some jobs that we'll need for maintenance. So we kind of get them to buy into the park and help them and they help us.
A great panel discussion. Thank you very much for everyone's time, expertise, and effort in building this great future in Oklahoma City. My question relates to collaboration. There's so many amazing things that are happening in the city right now, and there are continue to be more and more developments over time. So what are some ways that as community leaders we can come together to ensure that we're working collectively and collaboratively, and that we're not getting ahead of ourselves or duplicating efforts?
Well, I can tell you that your chamber membership is probably the most important thing. And Roy's not paying me yet, although he will. But
you all participating through your chamber membership makes a huge difference. You have a voice, and you can exercise it not only in meetings, but just by picking up the phone and calling a chamber rep. That is a fast, easy, immediate way to really participate. What about for the rest of you? Any other?
I mean, I'll speak on behalf of a developer coming in from the outside, and that is a city government that's united. I think that's key. There's direction from the city, whether it's the mayor. You guys have the Alliance, which is a fantastic group of people. Kathy and Nicole over there have been tremendous helps for us, guiding us, but more importantly, they show us the vision. So the vision could start somewhere within Oklahoma City, but somebody has to capture it at the top, and it kind of permeates down. So I think having kind of a unified force, whether it's the mayor or another entity within the government to help push the agendas or push the vision is key.
Mike?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I see, and I have lived in a lot of different cities and run bureaus in other cities as well as some other businesses, and the political climate here, and I mean in the city, not in the state, but in the city, the political climate that we have at City Hall. Nonpartisan elections seem to work wonders here. But beyond that is the fact that we have, over the time I've been here, I've seen election after election where we have elected people that have good, plain common sense and are willing to sit down and talk with each other and work out their differences politely. You don't have to, you can disagree without being disagreeable. And that's what we've done. And I would encourage people to continue to offer themselves for election if you're going to act that way. And pay attention to who you're electing to make sure you elect those people so that we truly have a collaborative government locally. Maybe it will rub off up there. I'm not holding my breath for that, but at least we have a collaborative government locally that is driven by the premise of let's work together to get things done. The old adage of the rising tide lifts all boats. Well, if Oklahoma City is not the poster child for that, then there is none, because that's exactly what's happened here, and I think that's something that we all need to continue to work on to make sure it happens, and the collaboration with other groups. You look at the Chickasaw Nation and their partnership with the city. You look at businesses like Omni and their partnership with the city, Devon and their partnership. It goes on and on and on. And that's, to me, that's kind of the secret sauce that I've not seen in any other city that I've ever lived in.
JPH?
Well, and of course, we've met and working to collaborate to maybe even have a joint ticket when we open to go to both of our facilities. But the key to me is we've got to bring more people from the outside of Oklahoma City, outside of Oklahoma, to Oklahoma. 125,000 cars drive right by our site every single day. In the summertime, that goes up to 200,000 cars a day. So if we don't bring people in from the outside, that sales tax revenue is just a hamster wheel. We're not increasing the revenues. But I think the key long-term is getting more foreign visitors here. We've got Route 66. Asia is the fastest growing market right now for tourism. China has the largest growing middle class. When I was in Arizona at the Heard Museum, we saw a huge increase in Chinese nationals visiting the Southwest. I know in Europe and in Asia in particular, they're fascinated with the American West, and we have a lot to offer right here in Oklahoma City. And I want all of us to work together to get more people to come to Oklahoma and stay longer. And this means working with Tulsa as well, not just Oklahoma City. And we're kind of, we're in competition a lot with each other, but we need to work together as a state to bring more people to Oklahoma and get them to stay longer.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Yes, way back there.
I was wanting to know that once the new convention center gets open and is established and running, what are the plans with the old convention center?
Mike.
I think I said this when I sat up here back in December with Brett. That is a public policy decision that the City Council will be making in the not too distant future. Basically, I think once construction starts on the new convention center, that the city administration and City Council will be looking at that to make a determination of what happens, and also some of the timing of whatever happens with that. But they'll be tackling that in the not too distant future.
Yes, sir. One more.
I hope this isn't obvious, and I bet a lot of people have had the experience that I'm getting ready to say by way of asking about something, suggesting something. But 10 years ago, I was with my brother and one of my sons. We had grabbed a car and been in Paris a few days, and we were on our way to Belgium. And we get 40 minutes outside of town, and there's this huge roadside sign that was compelling, that was better than the signs that I've ever seen in the United States. And it was for Chantilly Chateau, if anybody's ever been there before. And it was, and then we go another half a mile or so, and boom, there's another one. And it literally just drew you in to going there. Even though we had just left Paris, we had a long drive to go. And it was one of the most amazing places I've ever been in my life. But if it were not for those two signs, we would have never pulled over and gone to see it and missed it. So I'm hoping that all you guys, somebody is really coordinating with whoever's responsible for tourist signs out there on I-40 both ways, because that's how we're going to get some of those 200,000 cars a day to stop if we make it compelling. You know, I think I love the art decoration. Some people don't like it, that suspends over the highway. But the more of that you can do, I think the more people you're going to get. Is anybody working on that?
You know, marketing is something that we talk about at the Convention and Visitors Bureau at every regular meeting. Mike, is there anything you want to say to address that?
Well, the marketing of a city has changed dramatically over the last 10 years, getting away from print and away from other sources, and is becoming much more social media and digital media driven. We do a lot of social media. We spend a lot of money promoting Oklahoma City and the different attractions, hotels, all of the different things through social media and other sources that we also monitor very closely and do a lot of work analytically in how to drive traffic to all of the different attractions and the facilities around here. We will continue doing that. We work closely, there's a couple of folks here from the State Department of Tourism. We work closely with them. We work closely with the Chickasaw Nation and with the Norman and Edmond CVBs. I'll toot our horn. We won an award last night at the Redbud Awards, which is the tourism industry. Norman, Stillwater, and Oklahoma City partnered on a social media influencer program, and we won an award for that. You know, how do we partner throughout the area to do that? Those are the kinds of things that are making a difference and continue to be a reason why we're drawing 7.5, 8 million visitors a year. In the international market, you look at the horse shows that we have here. You know, you talk about that and people are like, hey, yeah, Cowboys, well, big deal. Those Cowboys bring in $200 million in direct spending a year, and a whole lot of them are from Europe and South America, and we're helping drive that traffic to come here. So, you know, we're doing a variety of different things and continue to try to do more and more all the time.
Thank you. This has just been a great event, and largely due to you all participating and listening and willing to come together. So let's thank our panelists for this great discussion. Let me just do a few housekeeping things while they make their way back.
Once again, I'd like to thank our signature sponsor, Cox Business, and our series corporate sponsors, ADG Inc. and Guernsey. Now, the June Chamber Forum will feature a legislative recap and a discussion around State Question 788 on medical marijuana. I will tell you that it sounds easy, but it's not. This is something that all of us need to get educated on and participate in the discussion, because there is a potential impact on our businesses. Please note that next month's forum will take place earlier in the month on Tuesday, June the 12th. Register online today. But thank you for attending so much.